Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver, and today's picture that we are discussing is what year was this movie?
2001.
2001's The Man Who Wasn't There. That's right. This is week 4 of Coen Brothers Month, and we're skipping around a little bit. We've skipped, I think, 2 movies chronologically, and we've jumped to The Man Who Wasn't There. Is that right? Or do we skip?
I mean, we did Oh Brother already.
Yeah. We've done Oh Brother already. Yeah.
That's the only one we skipped.
Okay. Then we're skipping that and we're going to The Man Who Wasn't There.
Maybe I'll make a whole SoundCloud playlist and put them in order or something.
Yeah, that would be good.
That'll
work. Yes, this movie, 2001. This is I think it pairs really well with Lebowski. And I know that doesn't seem apparent, if you kind of look at them side by side, but the noir thing is there, right? Like the Big Lebowski is Raymond Chandler noir, and The Man Who Wasn't There is James M. Cain's noir. And we have a little bit of experience with James M. Cain. We covered the remake of The Postman Always Rings Twice.
And I have listened to that book on tape, and it is an exceptional novel.
Yes. And that is what they're riffing on here, right?
It's perfect. It's perfect.
And they're doing it serious this time.
Yeah.
But still subverting the genre. Because you've got, the character, I guess, I honestly, maybe not even subverting as much as you might think, because this is very much like a James M. Cain character in the Billy Bob Thornton character, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a no good Nick a little bit.
Yeah, especially if you put it up against Postman Always Rings Twice. I mean, it's all there, right?
Opportunist,
a little bit double indemnity here as well. But yeah, I think Postman Always Rings Twice is a really good comparison.
They also say Mildred Pierce.
I don't know that property.
Yeah, I don't know that one either. I mean, I know it was also made into a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, and a little bit of Shadow of a Doubt. Now I've seen that one.
Yes, that's a good one. Hitchcock. Yeah.
One of these days we'll do it. We'll do a whole bunch of Hitchcocks.
We should actually.
One of these days.
One of these days. Maybe we'll do a Hitchcock month one time.
Yeah.
We can all pick a Hitchcock. And hey, if you want to hear us talk about a Hitchcock, email us at filmseizure@gmail.com and maybe we'll pick your Hitchcock.
Nice plug.
That was actually a good plug.
We haven't thrown the old
email, and God damn it, one I have
Gmail at filmseizure.com.
Oh my God. I never did come through on that. I'm sorry. I should have hanged my head in shame.
People have been trying to email us for 5 years now, and they keep getting a bounce back.
Domain not found.
Yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, anyway, this I think was the first time watch for you, Jeff.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen this movie in at least 15 years. I saw it in the theater. I saw it when it hit video because I bought the DVD. That's the DVD I watched.
Wow.
But I had not watched it since I bought it after it came out on home video. So this was almost like a completely fresh watch for me. I mean, I remembered a couple things, but I was completely engrossed in this picture. How about you, Chuck?
So I watched this when it came out, and I don't think I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did we lose?
Did Chuck freeze?
We might have lost Chuck. That's okay.
We lost the Chuck.
It was on the heels of more zany, fun, wild. I think
you froze.
I froze.
Yeah,
we lost
you
for a second.
Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Tell us that again.
Yeah, you weren't ready for this, and then you froze.
And you froze.
Yeah, I don't think I was ready for this movie when it first came out. So I only watched it once. When it was released. I think I enjoyed it, but it was coming off the heels of what I said, 3 movies that are just fucking amazing, that I love, that are zany and interesting. And not that this isn't interesting, but it wasn't it just wasn't what I was expecting at the time. And
well, this is a movie. I mean, if we think about the movie that we just talked about last week, The Big Lebowski, there's an upbeat ending. There's a continuation of the story, ... This movie is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
This is the end of somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a completely different movie compared to what we're used to from the Coen Brothers, I would say.
But it's still really funny. That's the thing about this movie that is again, they're masters of balancing tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of the same type of humor that Fargo has. I mean, there are lines, for Christ's sake, where he's like, dry cleaning. Was I crazy to be thinking about it? Come on, that's a joke, right? And
Right.
that's so good. I mean, he's in a beautifully lit black and white silhouette, with half of his face in darkness, leaning up against the door frame when the narration is giving that line, and it's just like, oh my God, they're doing noir, but they are still poking fun, right?
Yeah. There's a moment later we'll talk about it, I'm sure, where I literally spit my drink out of my mouth. I laugh so hard. So it's definitely there. And I think that humor might have been lost on me 20 years ago, too.
Yeah.
Like some of that stuff. But this is a very engrossing story. Billy Bob, like, we talk about perfect casting a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he is the exact man you want for this role.
Yeah.
Because he's nondescript. You believe his quietness. You believe his, like, even when he's angry, it's only like a slight twitch in his face, and
it's a tinge in his eye,
and he looks angry.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how nuanced this character is by Billy Bob. It's insane. Really,
and
everyone in this movie is really good.
And it's surface level, but his voice is just so well suited for that narration, right?
Yeah.
That inner dialogue. It's just it's pleasant to listen to.
It is, but also, I mean, me personally, I think this is an incredibly sad movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And while there are some things to chuckle at, I started getting swept up in, you can even hear it in his narration. There's one scene in particular, you guys know what I'm going to be talking about here, but there's one scene in particular where, without saying the line, he says the line twice, and without making it sound any different, you hear an immense amount of regret and sadness, and not necessarily for himself, but for the other character. And it's right. I mean, there's no difference in how he says the line. It's just, but you get the context now the second time through, and you realize how sad that is. Right. And I mean, this is one of those movies that 25 years ago, when I wanted to write a movie, this would have been the movie I would have wanted to write. It's just so well written.
So when we said that we thought you would like this movie, we nailed it.
Oh my God. I mean, like, it's an upper decker, man. Not in my toilet, but it's an upper decker out of the park. I mean, nice. That baseball is swimming around in the Golden Bay or whatever they call that. Yeah.
I find it kind of weird that you, given your love of like this genre, etc., like, did not catch this movie.
Well, it's like I said, I was always an interloper of the Coens, and this was one that I kind of zagged when I should have been zigging.
It just feels like it would have
too. This one kind of came and went though. Yeah. It was easy to miss. Yeah.
The movie that wasn't there.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when this came out,
critical darling.
Yeah, it was listed.
And
there was one thing.
Joel Coen shared Best Director at Cannes with David Lynch for
wow.
Drive. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this is this is a funny movie, and I mean, I don't mean that quite literally, but it is funny that there are funny things in it, that there are it's kind of an everyday kind of humor, right? Like he's commenting or reacting to, his brother-in-law who talks too fucking much.
Yeah.
And the whole thing where he hires the new guy and he must have been nervous or something during
He
the
hired
interview.
the guy who talked the least in the interview. Yeah.
And now he talks as much or more than his brother-in-law did.
Yeah.
He must have been
also,
nervous.
There's some karmic upcomings there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he says stuff like, I don't talk much. I just cut the hair. Even the phrasing of that is funny, right?
Yeah.
Or we go to church every Wednesday, or we go to church once a week on Tuesday.
Usually,
it is
and it's
fucking
for bingo.
It is great. Yeah.
Those are the jokes that land quite frequently in this movie.
His little description of all the different hairstyles. He's like, there's really not much to it once you know all the moves, right? And he describes all the hairstyles real quick, and they show him sometimes the executive cut. Right. I mean, those moments are so Coen. I mean, they're just like those little quirky moments that cut through the fat, right? That keep things from being too serious.
Right.
What's funny about it too, and we'll talk about it at the end of the movie, is all of this buildup about hair is expertly used in the last scene. It's it's amazing.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. But continue, Jeff, if you'd like.
No, I mean, I was just this is the way it's shot, the way it looks, the way that I love me a good voiceover track. Holy cow! And this is some of the best.
It's one of the all-timers, I think.
Yeah, sure is. And it's, man, I could make a whole night out of watching the original Postman Always Rings Twice, Chinatown, and this. Just bang, bang, bang. Right. Yeah. And I would be so overjoyed with the evening that I just spent watching those three movies.
This movie is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh boy.
In black and white. Like it's wow.
Yeah.
This was another Roger Deakins loss.
Of course.
Yep.
What the hell was going on with people in 2001 that this didn't get anything more than that nomination?
It's kind of crazy. I agree.
Lord of the Rings was great and all, but this should have gotten a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the oxygen just kind of got sucked up, right? Did it get nominated for anything other than best cinematography?
Nope, that was it.
That was it. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, this movie is like prime for reappraisal.
Especially considering it came out of Cannes pretty strong. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it came out in November. That's the right time.
Yeah.
What's going on here, people?
Maybe it was a momentum thing. Like usually when a movie comes out at Cannes, that's March, right? March or April.
May, I think it said.
And then May 13th. May. You might be right about that. And then maybe it just didn't get the momentum in between. I don't know.
I don't know, but
it's kind of a weird one, right? It's never going to be the populist pick. A movie like this,
I would have voted for it.
It didn't make its money back at the box office, so clearly it wasn't. We've talked about this before. Like the Coen Brothers kind of make one for you and one for me, right? And this is one of those that they made for them. I don't think they had any illusions that this was going to be a box office smash like Fargo was, or even The Big Lebowski, which didn't make a ton of money, but it made money.
This cast is unbelievable.
Or Oh Brother certainly wasn't going to be Oh Brother.
Right. This cast is unbelievable, and everybody acts like they think this is going to to be a big hit. Right? Like they're all fucking 110%.
They're all like into the Coens, man. That's the beauty about the Coens is they run a tight ship on set budget wise, right? They can put a lot on screen for a very little amount of money. This is a $20 million picture. It looks gorgeous, especially with the cast they have. $20 million nowadays is like nothing. It was pretty much nothing then.
Billy Bob probably got paid that at one point.
Who knows?
Per picture.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably like that movie made with Bruce Willis. They probably like split $30 million or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are the types of creatives that people want to work with, right?
Yeah.
And when they get the chance, they're going to bring their A game. Yeah.
They all certainly do.
Yep, they sure do.
Like, this is one of my favorite Gandolfini roles.
He's great.
Oh my God. He is so threatening while being so friendly at the same time.
He's perfectly menacing, and he's perfectly like a man out of time too.
Yeah.
Because you see Tony Soprano, like that's obviously they're playing off of that persona a little bit by casting him in this role, but he's perfectly pulled out as like a 40s kind of gangster heavy.
But he's also so nice when you first see him.
Well, yeah,
like, absolutely. Yeah, I want to have dinner with him.
He's got like that charm, right?
Yeah.
That
small town big fish charm.
Yeah. He's very amicable, but he's Tony Soprano. Right? Like the casting is everything here. You know that there's something underneath him that's scary. Yeah.
They must have moved quick to get him then, because Sopranos debuted in 99. I don't know when they shot this film, but yeah, it must have been a pretty quick.
Oh, we
need that man.
He's not in this movie if it's not for Sopranos.
I agree, but they must have moved real quick. Is all I'm saying. Yeah.
It's like they saw an episode and it's like, that's our guy.
That movie was instantly a massive phenomenon. Yeah.
Right.
Or the show, I mean. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, this is like a 15 or 16-year-old Scarlett Johansson perfectly playing that kind of whatever teenager, and it's like she's also kind of in a very similar way like Billy Bob Thornton, where she just kind of wants to exist, and you kind of feel for her because she's kind of left to her own devices too in a lot of ways, because like you don't get the impression that her dad does much with her, or anything.
No, he's checked out. I can't remember that actor's name right now.
Richard Jenkins.
Yeah, Stephanie told me last night.
He is fantastic in everything.
Just the way he like just passes out like mid-sentence and wakes back up, and like that first drunk scene with him on the porch, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfection. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Scarlett Johansson character is really complicated, I think.
Little problem.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
No, I don't. I mean, here's the.
We'll
get around to
it. They play on that for sure. Like
there's a line that makes you think, oh no, Billy Bob.
They tease it. They definitely tease it, but that's never in his heart.
Nope.
But I think he's picking up on signals that aren't there.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. Yeah.
It is fascinating, but Steph and I were talking about this. I also never, ever once got the idea that she would do that. So it is a little out of left field.
But
Heavens, the Betsy.
But I think she's a little bit more of a wild child than we're allowed to know.
Yeah, I think we're only seeing the world through. Yeah, we're only seeing the world through his eyes.
Right.
So
she puts on a really good face. She is like the perfect daughter. She's the perfect hostess. But there's a whole other thing going on with her character that we never get to see. Yep.
Agree. And maybe it's the Billy Bob character that allows this, because he's telling a story and he already has all the information as he tells it.
Yep.
So he explains her differently than she really is for half of the story.
I wouldn't be his perception of her,
right? Which I would not be super
his
duper
savior. Her music is his savior. Yeah,
it's the only thing that he sees any purpose in is when she's playing the piano. It's doing something that's putting the pieces of the world in right place. I wouldn't be super duper surprised if she isn't even dressing the way he is describing physically to us. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if if we were to see the world from a third person instead of from his point of view, these people are totally different. Like the talkative barbers aren't that talkative. Right.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he is telling this from his skewed perspective.
His sensory intake is so on the margins, right?
Yeah.
That we're not getting the full picture. Yeah, we're getting an exaggerated version for him. Yeah.
And I do think that what he sees from her is somebody who he thinks is like him.
Yeah.
But really, probably what he's seeing is he's probably just seeing a girl who isn't as comfortable talking to an adult, like she is her friends.
But it's
so she's kind of responding to things the way he would.
She's a little bit of metaphor for his salvation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but he fucks it up.
Oh, it totally fucks it up. And his salvation is so pedantically technical, right? He can't understand the difference between playing the notes correctly and playing with passion and heart. Yeah. And emotion.
Well, because he doesn't have any of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
He also sees her as a ticket out too, and a part of like his lost youth. Like, I can live vicariously through this girl to achieve the things
totally
that I never did, and not give away my whole 20s to a woman who, we'll get to that later, like, who asked him to marry him.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's not a talkative dude. I will say one thing, and this is kind of sad, maybe a bit pathetic of me. The song Pathétique, I think that's how you pronounce it, she's.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No, I think that's the name of it. I think it's Pathetic.
You're right. Yeah.
It's also the melody to a Billy Joel song, This Night. This night will last forever.
Yeah.
That took me out of the movie, unfortunately, because I kept singing Billy Joel and being like, he wasn't alive in the 40s.
That's funny. Huh.
Yeah.
So you looked up. That's interesting. I didn't.
No, I knew it. I knew it in my head.
I didn't hear that melody at all. That's interesting.
I mean, I've heard. I mean, I used to have a. I didn't have it, but I had. But somebody I worked with at the movie theater had a disc of piano sonatas and stuff. So I had him copy it for me. So I knew those songs, and so that's what I was thinking about. It's like, and I believe one of those songs was heavily featured. Or one of the songs either on the CD or in this movie was heavily featured in Hannibal too, I believe.
Oh yeah, that
around the same time.
You know what I didn't mention last week that I kind of wanted to mention and I forgot. I'm just going to mention it real quickly here because it still fits in the theme. But a movie that we covered that came out the same year as Big Lebowski, Zero Effect.
Oh yeah,
that in many ways is like very parallel to the Big Lebowski. Like.
Yeah.
Like that's one hell of a double feature, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And
I mentioned I talked about two other movies that I watched for the show, just one we did the remake of. Yeah.
Right.
But so it's like, that's fine. Yeah. I by the way, seeing Richard, we talked about Richard Jenkins, seeing his name in the cast, I perked up. I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
because he's great in everything. I mean, like,
yes.
I mean, first of all, I love The Shape of Water, and he has.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I like it a lot. It's so shapely. It's so wet and shapely. But there is a scene that he has, with Sally Hawkins where they're kind of sitting down and they're dancing along with the movie. That I just think that's another one of those magic of movies.
Magic movies.
It is a beautiful film.
Yeah, and the then you got like, I mean, the Cabin in the Woods. Oh
I knew someone was going to mention.
Yeah,
I was gonna if Jeff didn't.
Yeah, but anyway, So anyway, I perked up when I saw, and I perked up a little bit when Tony Shalhoub's name popped up at the beginning.
Yeah, he is
really good in
this, right? I mean, my goodness.
Mr. Monk killed it in this movie.
Yeah, it did.
Sure did.
Yeah. Shalhoub is never going to put in a bad performance. It's just not possible. And man, he's good in this. As this kind of skeevy but effective lawyer. Yep.
What I like about this movie is a Coen Brothers movie too, with the exception of Frances McDormand and Polito is in it, right? It's not a Coen cast. right?
But
like
this is the beginning of Richard Jenkins doing a lot of Coen stuff.
right.
Yeah.
But it's like
True,
it's different.
yeah.
It's very different from past like Coen Brothers films where you continuously recognize people in them.
But there's enough of a thread, though, where
absolutely. I mean, Frances McDormand
Frances McDormand is the biggest one, yeah.
Well,
and we had to say this because you're talking about the cast. She, like, I almost like her better in this than I did in Fargo. Like, she's that good.
Well, she's very complicated in this.
Is better than Meryl Streep. Like, I'm going to say, I don't have a whole lot of high regard for Meryl Streep.
Fucking throwing it down.
But Frances McDormand, I mean, I'm glad she's gotten like her Oscars, but man, like
she's 4 Oscars.
Yeah. She's better. Like she should have 8. Like she's just good, man. She kills it in this. She's so good. The scene, man,
where she's looking at him, looking at
him, and he's given Shaloub the story that he killed him, and he's actually telling the truth, and she's looking at him, and she knows it's the truth. Oh,
yeah,
that is just gold.
That kind of flattened me too, like. Yeah. Emotionally, I was like, "Holy shit, this is powerful."
Yep.
Yeah, and we get the scene where we have a really better idea of what their relationship really is when the guy trying to sell the tar for the driveway,
the Tarmac or whatever it's called.
Whatever. Oh, yeah. And she comes home.
Christopher McDonald.
Yeah, Christopher McDonald in a just a super duper fast little scene.
Yeah.
But he's she tells him to fuck off basically, and then gets mad at Billy Bob for even entertaining the guy's like story.
I don't know that she was mad at him. I don't think she was mad at him.
She didn't speak to him again in that scene. Like,
well, he went to ask if she was all right. She's like, "Don't worry about it. I'm fine." Like that actually was their relationship, like you said, that's saved for the very end, right? For a reason, but it does like encapsulate their relationship. Go ahead, Jason. What were you gonna say?
No, I agree. I'm disagreeing with you, and I don't necessarily think she was angry with him, but he was picking up on something about her day that was different, and she didn't want to talk about it. And she wanted the man she married, the man who was just going to shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm.
And he was breaking character. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why I think she was mad.
It's very possible also that Ed Crane is not as quiet as we think he is.
Agreed.
He's selling himself that way. He is probably far more like the Jack Nicholson Postman Always Rings Twice, where he knows when to say something. He knows when to lay down something. He knows when to back away from something. He knows when to run. He can't run because
was it Kenny Rogers?
Yeah. And he knows when he knows when to fold. Yep.
Oh my God, that's funny.
But we don't know what condition his condition is in, though.
Right.
The moment Chuck spit
I want to know when you spit your drink out.
Because I almost spit my drink out when Frances McDormand said, "I hate wops."
That was funny too, but that's not it.
That made me think of my absolute meltdown over Hudson Hawk.
It was
that's one of our not so proud moments on the show.
We've got a few.
That's one of them.
I've got a few. That's one of them. Yeah. Unlike Ed Crane, I have regrets on this show. Yes, indeed.
Okay, I'll tell you my moment, and it's pretty much right after the WAPS line. She gets drunk. He brings her home. He sits on the bed. And he says, "Oh my God, I don't even know if I wrote down exactly what he said."
No.
He sits down and he starts telling this story. It was just a week later. She suggested that we marry.
Yes.
And then the phone rings. And he has to go to the office of Big Dave. and there's this whole murder scene that happens. He goes home and sits down, and then he said, "It was just about a week she asked me to marry her." I lost it.
Which is hilarious because that's
obvious
the exact
joke, right? Like that is this perfection.
Yes.
But to me, that was what I was saying was when it's delivered the second time, it's sad. It's a sad moment to me.
It's hilarious.
But it's
hilarious.
It's
but yeah,
funny.
but it's like it shows that mistakes have been made here, you know. But yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I picked up on the fact that it was a joke, but it's still one of those jokes where it's like there's a lot of sadness underneath that joke.
I mean, and that's the brilliance of this movie.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, that is a hard thing to pull off, right?
Yes.
I do think, and the reason why I do think that he is not the person we're being sold is how expertly he kills Big Dave. Like we see him kind of pick up the thing and he stabs him, and then I mean that's a kill shot.
I don't
Like
know.
I don't know.
I feel like he gets lucky.
It may be a little bit of luck, but it could. I mean, that because that was one of those things where it's like he's reacting very sharply and very like he is kind of sharply, yeah. But like he has a very specific way that he talks. He's very sharp in the way he talks. He's very, and so like he grabbed the first thing that he could hit him with, and so it's like he could have gotten lucky there.
Yeah,
but it's also so quick and perfectly put into his jugular.
Yeah. I don't know.
That it may have been a whole other thing. Maybe it was something he's always envisioned that he could do.
I think there's well, obviously you'd probably want to injure the man who's sleeping with your wife.
Right.
But there is an element here, I think, of him retelling his own story and leaving out his bits a little bit. Yeah. Right? Like he's the man who's not there. He is not there in his own story. Almost. Right. And he doesn't even know how to tell himself. He doesn't know how to speak to what he is.
Right.
But it is like, I don't even care. Like his rendition, like the way he plays it is just amazing.
Yeah. But there's also like a juxtaposition there too, right? You have this James Gandolfini, this imposing
overbearing
figure who supposedly was like this great killer in the war. If you hear his side of it, right? Who stole this knife off of I don't know. Did he say a Japanese
a Jap
or something?
He says a Jap,
right?
Right.
And he gets killed by the same knife by the most unimposing soul he could encounter. A man he was literally choking to death.
A man whose wife he stole.
Whose wife he stole. Right. So it's to me whether or not Crane is who he says he is or not, it doesn't matter. It's the juxtaposition that matters. It's like the first way of exposing Gandolfini for being the fraud that he is.
Well, yeah, because they even say that the knife that was used was a dame's knife.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even off of a fucking soldier.
Like a great prize. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And which at that point then, because when they even say it's like, well, it was a dame's knife. He's like, no, it was Big Dave's, and he's ignored.
Right.
And they bowl right past them. Right. Back to Big Lebowski. They plow right through that fucking Fargo. Is there a word that I can use that isn't related to one of the Coen Brothers movie? It flies right out the fucking window and comes back later as an angel.
What? Yeah. Okay, you went there because I was gonna.
I'm just gonna be the man who wasn't here for this.
There you go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. But anyway, no. But they don't even listen to him.
Should we do a quick plot synopsis? Is that a thing we should do?
Yeah,
probably.
I guess.
Do you want me to try it?
Yeah, you do it.
You can. Yeah.
Okay. Billy Bob Thornton is married to Frances McDormand, Ed Crane and Doris Crane. They have been married for a long time. Ed works with Doris's brother at the barbershop. Barbershop has been in Doris's family for years. Ed is kind of his second chair. His brother-in-law is first chair. Basically, what happens is Ed cuts the hair of one John Polito, Creighton Tolliver, And Creighton Tolliver tells him he's in town to try and pitch his idea for a new wave of cleaning. It's dry cleaning, no water involved, just chemicals. And he's not having much luck in town. He's not finding any buyers. He's telling all of this to Ed, and Ed starts thinking and thinking and thinking about it. Thinking so much that he might be crazy to be thinking about it so much. And he decides to invest. So he goes to see Tolliver in his hotel room and says, what is it going to cost to be your partner? $10,000 is the answer. Whole time you don't really know if Tolliver's on a level or not, which I kind of like, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
I like to think that
he might
not.
be legit and he might not
but
be legit.
I like to think that he's not. That all of this is a series of events that Ed gets himself into that ultimately leads to his own downfall.
I think the opposite. I think he would have succeeded.
I like it better if Tolliver was legit. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a good twist there that he's because the one thing that Tolliver had, we haven't even talked about his rug. That's important because that's his business
Who
rug.
gets the pleasure, gentlemen? Fucking John Polito. When Billy Bob Thornton shows back up and he wants to talk about business, he puts the rug back on. He does.
I love it. It's his business rug.
Yeah.
But to me, that doesn't belie any funny business. That to me, like.
But he does come off as a
huckster.
Huckster. He does indeed. He does indeed. I think they try to play
Hud
with
suckster.
That. They're playing with that. The Hud suckster. Yeah.
No, gentlemen, no.
Yes. So he says to Tolliver, I can get it. I can get it by Friday or something. What he does
1 week.
is he writes a ransom note. Not a ransom note. He writes a letter that says, I know that you are having an affair.
Blackmail letter.
Yeah, blackmail letter. I know you're having an affair with Doris Crane. If you don't pay $10,000, her husband Ed will find out. Right?
Everybody will find out. Everybody.
Like
because it's important that we got to realize that the big Dave has married into.
But we don't know that yet.
No, we
don't know that yet. No, not yet. I thought we don't know that yet. We don't know.
No. We knew that. No, the dinner was way before this.
I know, but they don't say that.
He talks about how Doris works the books at Nerdlingers, which her boss, Big Dave, married into.
Oh, well.
And it's mentioned in setting up Big Dave, and then later it is more heavily put on. I didn't
think it was fully really like laid on until like later.
No, we get a lot from Gandolfini.
Because I feel like Ed wouldn't go through with this plan if he knew it was going to like create that much of a shakeup.
No, he does it anyway. Yeah, because later, then Big Dave is like, I need to talk to you. I'm sleeping with a woman that's not my wife. You don't know who she is. It's very obvious that he points out you don't know who she is.
So that's a weird scene, right?
And then
is he just trying to fish right there?
Maybe.
Is he fishing? What do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because why does he even talk to Ed about it?
Well, I think there's two.
That he does see that Ed and Doris had a little bit of an altercation.
I think that's why.
Ed noticed that. Do you think that's why?
I think that's why. I think there's a little bit of fishing, like curious if Ed will react. But I also think by letting him know what's happening in Big Dave's mind will keep him from being curious about who it is. Right? Like, I brought you into the fold to help me figure this out. I never would.
So if the guy, the blackmailer, really does tell him, he'll be like, well, I already talked to Big Dave, and Big Dave's having an affair with someone else. I can see it.
Sure.
I can buy it. He's creating some plausible deniability.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and I think that, because they also had that scene during dinner where they were talking out on the porch. I think he kind of thinks of Ed as a friend, even though Ed doesn't really give a flying fuck about him, really.
I think everyone just likes to just talk at Ed. If he's really that non-responsive, like, that's an easy listener right there.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about any fights or any like.
Big Dave they aren't going to drink beer together. They're not going golfing. They're just Big Dave's are trying to make the best of it.
He's shooting shit. Is what he's
exactly.
doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which I mean, to Big Dave,
Bob,
that might be.
Ed does his part. He's like, so how's business, Dave? You know, that's the classic thing you ask is how's work.
Well, he does, and he tells them at that point
the least amount of effort you can put in.
Right.
Yep.
Well, he talks about at that point, there's expansion on the horizon, that he's thinking about giving Doris a promotion.
Yep.
So, I mean, like in a way, he's telling Ed stuff that
will benefit him.
Yeah.
That's also the first. I was going to say that's also the first indication that the business partner that Polito was in town to meet was Big Dave.
Right.
Because he says this guy is looking to expand, so he won't even meet with you anymore. And then it's followed by Big Dave saying, I'm looking to expand. Yeah. So you're kind of getting like.
But that conversation also makes me think that Ed thinks that Big Dave is more liquid than he's letting on.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, this is another situation like with the Big Lebowski. Big Dave likes to talk a big game. He isn't really who. I mean, he's not the money. He's not the brains behind Nerdlingers. Which, by the way, that killed me.
Great name.
Oh my god, it's like Nerdlinger. Anyway. I think I heard that as a put down the first time, like on The Simpsons or something, 30 years ago. So
Mrs. Nerdlinger, fucking.
Whoa, she is nuts. I almost sent a message to you guys the moment she shows up at night. Like, still looks like she's still wearing her morning outfit.
She's fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah, and she's
the wind is blowing. The trees are sweeping behind,
and she's telling the
shadows of those trees are on Billy Bob's face.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was almost like, well, that took a left turn.
Chuck,
we'll get there.
Want to know the first thing I thought about when that scene happened? Was I thought about the TV show.
The TV show?
Yep. The Fargo TV show.
Too. And I forgot that he had a vision of a UFO later.
Completely forgot. But that's interesting, isn't it?
It is very interesting. It makes Noah Hawley's thing a little bit more like, okay, that makes sense. Because I didn't get it when I first watched the TV show.
Me neither. Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, back to the we kind of went off topic there for a second, but back to the we all did. So where are we at in the plot? Oh yeah, basically it's like $10,000 instructions to come.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And then that's where the party. There's like a Christmas party or something that's happening at Nerdlingers, and that's when Big Dave talks to Ed and tells him kind of like what's happening, that there's this blackmailer. He's giving him vagaries. I think he's trying to feel him out, but also kind of like create some plausible deniability if things go shit. And Big and at this point, like this, he's confirming everything for Ed, right?
Right.
Like he's confirming everything. It's like, oh my god, yeah, I didn't know for sure if they were having an affair, but I do now, right?
Yes.
And that
which is funny. Later,
that kind of changes Ed's perspective a little bit, right?
Yeah, and it does. That story changes too.
Yeah,
because he says, "I just knew that she," it's like, but he was
suspected.
Right. He put the lure into the pond with all the fish.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to end up getting, so yeah.
That's a good little simile there. I like that.
Yeah, which is funny because you got to tie your own flies. Yeah. These fish aren't as stupid as you think. Like that's an important line. Yeah.
But all right, so he hears this from Big Dave. He's like, well, he's gonna pay. Fuck him. and he goes to Italian dinner with all of Doris's family, which is when she says, "I hate wops." He's like, "You didn't have to grow up with them." It's such a great line because it's like, whoa, where's this come from? It's like, oh, she's Italian. She hates Italians because she doesn't want to be around them because they talk too much, which is so funny. Like, that is funny. That's why she married Ed, because he doesn't say shit, right?
Right.
He's the exact opposite of everyone she grew up with in her family. Like, she just wants some goddamn peace and quiet. Like, that
she's not a very warm person.
No.
I mean, she is towards Gandolfini, but not really anyone.
She's so like, it's so fake, like her like overly laughing.
Well, that's true. But I mean, but like I assume if they're having an affair, she's like, a little warm to his
like
something.
If there's any clue that she's fucking him, it's how heartily she laughs at his stupid story. Yeah.
Well, and there's a little bit of a clue the very first time you see her, and she's trying on her undergarments that she bought.
Yeah.
She's obviously getting that for somebody, and we do find out a little bit later that she's not really interested in Ed.
No.
In fact, we find out later that they hadn't had sex in years.
Right.
So it's like the clues add up at that point where it's like, oh, well, she's checking herself out for something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just for her to feel good. But it adds into the concept of this is for Big Dave.
Yeah. Yep. He had a 10% discount.
Well, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that was bought for her. Probably not even a discount.
That's a good point too.
Because there's boxes in there, and there's a lot of
we're dealing
nicer stuff.
with a narrow perspective here, a narrow narrator. Yeah, for sure.
And we don't know how reliable he is.
Right. Well, I think he's reliable into his own perception. Right. To a point.
He's telling his own truth, at least.
He's telling his own truth. But
not about himself, really.
But that's true too. So they go to the, I think it's like it's a wedding, right? Like one of her sisters,
or an engagement party.
Yeah, I think it's an engagement party because there
congratulations on your cherries.
Yeah.
And oh my God, Frank eating the pies with the kids.
Oh, fucking Frank's riding the pig. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, what was the fucking pig's name? Because like he's riding Aristotle or something. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think it is something like Aristotle
or Socrates. I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny as hell.
I've got to look this up. That was insane.
She drinks so much that she passes out on the car ride home. He eats so much that he passes out on the car ride home. That's when you kind of realize that he is just by himself, by the way. Like the brother-in-law, it's just him. Like he's not married. It's just him. They're driving him to and fro. And then they get home, he puts her to bed, and then he gets a call from Big Dave. And Big Dave's like, I need to talk to you. It's an emergency. It's like, are you sure? It's kind of late. He's like, yes, I need to talk to you. Come to the store. Let yourself in. Yep. It's like that. At that point, you're kind of like, dude, do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Like that feels a little, to me.
I don't know if he felt like he had a choice at this point either.
Well, maybe.
Because prior to this,
he's a man in the 40s, right? He's gonna like
face the music.
Is that the archetype? I don't know. But he goes and he lets himself in, and James Gandolfini tells him that he knows everything.
Well, he asks him, what kind of a man are you?
What kind of a man are you? And that's a theme now, is what kind of a man are you?
I've got a feeling that considering what we learn about Big Dave later, that's how all of his fights started. Yeah. All those fist fights he got into that's loaded on his record probably started with that question. What kind of a man are you? But he bolsters himself.
Big Dave has got kind of a shred of a point here.
Well, sure. Because if you think about it, though, it's like
I'd understand if you came into my office and confronted me and punched me in the jaw. I'd get that.
Yep.
Right.
Hell, he'd probably even let him kick his ass because
what he's doing is
real underhanded.
And
it doesn't show a great deal of respect to Doris.
No, none. Shows none. Or how he feels about Doris, right? So, but he says he gets this information because he beat it out of Tolliver, right?
Yeah.
Because he had already suspected Tolliver, because Tolliver was the one who was trying to sell him on this deal. And the buy-in was 10 grand. And then a day later, he gets this ransom note or blackmail note for 10 grand. He's like, he already suspected him. So, of course, that's who he goes to see. And guess what? Tolliver's got 10 grand on him because he had just been paid by
Ed
Crane.
After Big Dave dropped the.
And as he's beating the shit out of him, because Tolliver's probably saying, I didn't do it. Well, then who did? It gets the information that it was Ed who gave him the 10 grand. So boom, it all falls into place, right? So Big Dave is just kind of like basically going to murder a motherfucker. He's like strangling. This is like Tony Soprano to a T right here. He's got him like strangled. He's got his like Tony.
He's breaking the glass to the fucking office.
He's pushing.
It's like True Romance.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then Ed has got this little knife, that Big Dave was boasted about, and just like you said earlier in the episode, real quickly surgically stabs him right in the neck. It just happens to hit the right place. Blood spurts. Big Dave goes down. Big Dave is dead.
And then he just goes home.
It just goes home. And
he continues his story.
About how they got married, when he got married to Doris. Yes.
And, but so the next day comes and we find out that, well, Doris is arrested. She got popped for the murder. She got pinched, but she got pinched.
That's a funny scene when the two detectives come.
It's like, are we going to go?
And he thinks he's going to get arrested, and they're just trying to awkwardly tell him that his wife has been arrested.
Yeah, we just drew the. I mean, we just got the assignment. It's like we just drew the assignment.
We were just told to come down here. And
crap job or crap detail, whatever they say. But this is like this happens twice in the movie, right? And then almost a third time, which kind of makes you think something different is happening when it happens. But nobody in this time frame wants to deliver news about anything, right? They're all reluctant news bearers, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, she got pinched and she's down at the station. Well, until 5 o'clock. Oh, you missed it. You can come see her tomorrow. The reason they think that she killed Big Dave is because they looked at the books and they could tell that she had been embezzling money. Yep.
But I think that in reality, correct me if I'm wrong, gents, but I think she was embezzling on Big Dave's behalf.
Yeah, she was helping him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think, ultimately it was the $10,000.
Well, it was the $10,000 that did it because he needed the $10,000. So
and she did the book, so she had to figure out a way to cook
the books to figure out a way, and that's why she was angry with him at the party because her books were clean and she was proud of how clean they were, and she had to do that for Big Dave. Yep. Little did she know that she was doing it to pay her husband.
Right. Because he wanted to get into that dry cleaning.
Yeah, he got it. Dry cleaning. Jesus.
And then Billy Bob goes to see.
Crazy to be thinking about it.
Billy Bob goes to see Richard Jenkins, which is just
he is fucked up.
That's a great scene. That's a great scene.
Where Richard Jenkins is trying to tell him about all the good lawyers. Oh, if you want this guy, if you want like decent work, but if you want the best work, I
don't know your situation with money, but yeah.
Well, there was the first guy he mentions is like doesn't even do like it wouldn't even touch a murder case.
He was talking about himself.
Well, the first guy, he was talking about himself. Of all, he was like, you don't want me. I'd be worthless to you. I do probate. I do this and that.
Okay. It
And
was
it's like, you
himself.
don't want me. Like, I'm not the guy. And then he talked about the public defender, and he's like, he's a good man. He's honest, but he's a public defender, right? Then he talks about another guy who would be serviceable and fine. Same guy that Riedenschneider says that if they just wanted to do
Hand holding,
sentencing, hand holding and sentencing, you'd hire that guy.
and he gets hired later.
He does, yes, and then
well, he takes the public defendant later.
but no, he takes the public defendant later, yeah, and because there's no money left, and then Freddie Riedenschneider, that's the guy. Like, if you want the guy, like the best that money can buy,
bring him down from Sacramento.
That's the guy. Like, the best that money can buy. Yep.
And so basically at this point, Frank puts up the money.
Yes.
Like they put a loan out on the barbershop, which, I mean, that was Frank and Doris's fathers, so it's
they said that it took 30 years to own that shop free and clear.
Yeah.
And they went to the bank and they took out a mortgage on it in order or took out a loan on it in order to pay old Freddie
Riedenschneider. And Ed brings up again, it's like, well, we got to cut more hair now. It's like, we got to do a lot more hair cutting. And that comes back again later where it's like, we got to keep the store going. So I had to hire the other guy.
Yeah. Otherwise the bank would take it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he would have literally nothing at that point.
Right.
So anyway,
and it's kind of like, there's this metaphor, right? That it'll get more dense later. I guess no pun intended, but this ever growing problem, right? Yeah.
Everybody has to get a haircut, and and eventually a haircut comes to everyone. Right. And we didn't mention that also at the Christmas party. That's when Ed meets Birdie. She's playing the piano upstairs, and she doesn't want to be part of the party, which I think is the first thing that sets him off to say, she's like me.
Right.
I don't want to be at the party either. I came up here.
We're both loners. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And
I'd rather listen to you play piano than be a part of anything that's going on downstairs. Yeah.
Exactly. And she is the daughter of Richard Jenkins.
Yes.
And he starts going over there basically every day just to hear her play. And because it suits him.
And Richard Jenkins gets drunk and he sits on the bench and she plays Mozart. Yeah.
Yeah. And
after night.
Is Walter is Richard Jenkins' character. Did the mom leave them or is she dead?
I don't know that it's ever explicitly said.
I assume she's dead.
Which is probably why he's drinking all the time.
Yeah.
And why she's a little bit, because of her mom's dead, her dad is
he's probably living with a ghost of his wife, right?
Right. And like if the mom is dead or not there and the dad is constantly drunk, then Birdie is kind of on her own.
Yeah.
And so she's a little disaffected from it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's an interesting movie interesting title to the movie because it's called The Man Who Wasn't There. Right. But so many of the men in this movie aren't there.
Yeah.
Like Frank or whatever you said his name was, the
Walter.
Yeah. Walter isn't there for his daughter. Frank becomes the man who wasn't there after his sister kills herself.
Yeah,
basically,
he doesn't come to the shop anymore.
Yep. So almost every male character in this,
Big Dave,
prominent one,
in a way, is not there for his wife, right? She says that after the supposed alien abduction, that he never touched her again, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of absentee men in this movie.
Yeah.
What is this? A Spielberg movie?
Yeah, no shit.
They're taking notes from Spielberg. No,
Worst people to take notes from, right?
I know, right? This is that's an excellent point, Chuck, because it's like all of them, and there is a certain amount of, maybe there's something socially going on there, right? Like these are all people who, how many men were absent after coming back from World War II? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of them were. And, you know, like they had to kind of carry on somehow. And most of the time, I bet that was with drink.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, in a way, Big Dave is trying to play the opposite of it, which is I'm the big hero, but he just sat at the fucking desk.
Yeah.
So the guy who is potentially the most put together guy of them all on the surface is one of the worst.
Farce. He's a farce. Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So, so basically, you know, Reed and Schneider is basically building the case, and he's good. He's got speeches, he's got ideas, he's got angles he's going to try. He knows what to go for against, you know, the state, you know, and all of that. So he's ready, and he's meeting with Ed and Doris pretty much all the time. And Ed does try to say, hey, I was the one who, you know, it's like she was passed out on the bed.
This is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, because
it's really good.
Shalhoub, or God,
the
I'm so
uncertainty
terrible.
principle scene?
Huh?
The uncertainty principle scene?
No, where Ed admits that he killed Big Dave. And Frances McDormand is just there, like the look on her face of
1A and 1B then. Yeah.
Yeah. The look on her face of understanding, and it really is like she calculates everything very quickly, right? And you can see it in her face. Like
she's a bookmaker. She gets it.
Yep. And the fact that she decides not to say anything speaks volumes about her as a person, and a little bit makes me feel a little bit less about Ed Crane, right? Even though he's the one that's admitting it, he's still the weaker of the two in this scene by a lot.
Her guilt. Yeah, I mean,
it's just powerful shit.
Guilt and shame that she feels is insurmountable.
Yeah.
Even though he's like doing her real fucking dirty, right? Yeah.
But I mean, he does admit to what he's done as a way to get her out of it, but she's still like, she makes the hero move in keeping her mouth shut when she could say he did leave, or he did.
There is an element to that. You're right, because Reed and Schneider says that if no one will buy it.
Well, yeah. Right? Did anybody see you come and go? Did anybody?
He's saying it's the truth, right? He hasn't said it's just a story. He's telling the truth in that moment. And Reed Schneider thinks it's just a ploy, and he's like, no one will buy it. It stinks.
Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah, but she knows it's true. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, basically they, you know, it's the day of the big show, as Reed and Snyder calls it. And Frank, oh my God, he's like, we're here on time. Why isn't she here on time?
Oh, God.
Where's Doris? Where's Doris? Hey,
Susan
Doris.
Wanted to kill Frank in that scene. Yeah,
I mean, he's such a nervous dude.
So much.
What, they don't have wake up calls?
And now Ed, we find out later, thought, you know, he brought her a dress to wear. She probably hated it and refused to come out, which, of course, that's not really thinking particularly highly of her either. You know, it's like, of course, I mean, dude, she's going to have to come out. If she's capable of coming out, she would come out for her trial, you know?
So here's the thing. You can be annoyed with Frank. He was expressing extreme worry about what was wrong with his sister at that moment. He just didn't know how to articulate it.
Yeah.
Oh, we know exactly what's going on because of him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and it's like, we didn't have to know. We didn't have to hear anything. They didn't even have to say that she hung herself or that she hanged herself to say,
but it's like Freddie says, like, why isn't she here yet? And after the third time asking, he's like, because she's late. You know? I mean, it's like, what do you want from me? None of us can answer this for you.
Right. And and so she did kill herself. And
She hung
basically
herself with the belt that he gave her with the dress that he gave her.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, oftentimes, of course, that's the first thing that they would not allow somebody to have would be a belt. But this is 1949. I mean, but so, yeah. And at this point, this is when, Frank disappears. Ed even says to himself that, he was like a ghost. He was just the guy who cut the hair at this point.
Right.
I mean, like, people didn't see him. He continues to go hear Birdie play. And I think he thinks that she's the only one who sees him.
Yeah.
And this is when he starts to kind of get the idea, well, why can't Birdie and I build a life? And we think, oh no,
right.
No.
Right.
But we do find out later. I think Jason and I are simpatico on the thought that, oh no, this is not at all what he means. It's just, it gives him some sort of purpose.
He wanted to be your manager.
Yeah, he wants to be your manager.
It was an escape for him. All the things I said earlier, like his way out and to live vicariously through her for all the youth that he lost.
Yeah. And he doesn't want romance with her. I mean, we find there's the exact moment when we were like, oh yeah, no, he doesn't want that. Heavens to Betsy, Birdie.
It's kind of a strange moment. It solidifies a lot about the situation and about the character happening, which is important, but it's also kind of like definitely out of left field when she wants to, she's disappointed that he's disappointed that she didn't perform well enough for the music expert
but she can perform another way.
Right. And she's like, I would have made you happy, and I'm sorry I didn't make you happy, but I can make you happy another way. And it gives you some sad insight into her psyche, right? Where maybe she is just destined to be like this person who is just trying to make the men in her life happy, right? In whatever way possible that means. And that's really sad.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, her dad is worth. Yeah, and her dad's constantly drunk. She's constantly having to
She's probably constantly tending to him, right?
Yep. So she's being kind of she's being positioned as somebody who always has to look after a guy.
Right. And it's not even like, I think I said earlier that maybe she's a little bit wild, but I don't even think that's fair to her. I think that she doesn't know how to be.
Right. And she's growing up too fast too. So because that's what happens when you lose when parents aren't there. You grow up a little too fast. I think that she
sees in Ed also like someone who actually gives a shit.
Yeah.
In a way, right? Like her father is checked out, Ed is checked in, but she's disappointed Ed. How can she keep Ed interested? Well, maybe a blowjob.
Right.
And it's so fucking sad. Yep.
Well, yeah, because it causes him to wreck the car. We didn't even get into the point why they're driving together.
I just kind of did it right there. But
Well, but I mean, but he wants to take her. He wants to be her manager. He hears about a guy that I think is in Sacramento also, and he's supposedly this expert who's going to be able to see the talent in anybody. And he's very forceful to her about just do this for me, just go and play for him. And he doesn't find out until well after the fact. She doesn't even want a life in music. She plays the piano because it's something she can do. It's not really anything that she wants to keep doing.
She hasn't even really thought about a career that benefits herself other than maybe being a veterinarian, which is like the stock girl thing.
She's 14 or 15 years old.
Right.
She's 17. They say 17.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Veterinarian. It's like the stock answer, right? It's cliche. Yeah. She gives the cliche answer, and it's like, no, she's just going to become a housewife. She has no sense of purpose.
Right.
She's stuck in like this 40s anti-feminist void, right? caring
Yeah.
for and already living in her mother's shadow, which fuck, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, he takes her and the guy who happens to be the writer of Chubby Rain from Bowfinger, basically tells Ed she can play the right notes. She just thinks she's no good. She's just tapping she'll make a great typist someday.
Right.
Which is oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a direct message to Ed too. He has no soul. He doesn't have that passion.
Right.
So he can't even possibly understand that on an art level. He
loses his mind in his own Ed way, like what she's playing all the notes perfectly. It's like, yeah, but he cannot understand the disconnect between that and playing with intensity and passion and heart. Yep.
Right.
It's not
connecting.
There.
What's crazy during the accident, the thing he says he thinks about, and I'm just going to read it. Time slows down right before an accident, and I had time to think about things. I thought about what an undertaker had told me once, that your hair keeps growing, for a while anyway, after you die, and then it stops. I thought, what keeps it growing? Is it like a plant and soil? What goes out of the soil? The soul? And when does the hair realize that it's gone? Is like, holy shit.
Yeah. And earlier he had a moment with Frank.
Yes.
Where he said something along the lines of, do you ever think about where it comes from? And he's like, what are you talking about? The hair just keeps growing and we cut it off. It's a part of us and we cut it off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to sweep this hair and go throw it in the dirt.
And mix it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least he's trying to be thoughtful.
It's not even thoughtful. He's trying to connect his soul to the world in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to make a meaningful connection between his life and the world, right? And he doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's honestly, in a lot of ways, thematically similar to The Big Lebowski. It's all these meaningless things happening to the dude and him throwing himself into it, right? In his own search for meaning. But at the end of the day, the dude abides. At the end of the day, the man was never there, right?
Yeah.
I think the man who wasn't there has a different realization at the end, but I'm not so certain. I'm not so certain.
Yeah, I don't know. So he basically wakes up in the hospital to the doctor and two cops basically telling him that he's under arrest.
And I love this scene.
And he thinks that, we're all thinking, oh, Birdie died or something, or something. It's like, no, he is under arrest for killing the
Tolliver. Tolliver.
Yeah.
Tolliver. Creighton Tolliver's body was found, beaten to death, and drowned in his car, which that was Big Dave who did that.
That was Big Dave.
And so he must have coerced.
But a receipt for their transaction of $10,000.
Here's one thing I never...
There is a little bit of a jump there just to assume that he killed, but whatever. I mean, there is
it was in the contract too.
Yeah.
His name was in there and everything. But,
it could just be...
But they're tying it back to the $10,000 that was embezzled, right? So they're like, he convinced his wife. There's more to this story, and hey, we weren't able to get justice with Doris. We're gonna get it with Ed.
Yeah.
Yep.
What always sticks, I'll never forget about this movie, even from the first time I thought about it, was Creighton Tolliver in the water with his wig.
Yeah.
Like half attached to his head, just sticking straight up, like trying to float away. It's like, that's symbolic.
It's a good rug.
Yeah, it's a good rug.
So basically, he gets Tony Shalhoub back, who says, well, I'll do this for you because I thought we had a winner the first time, and
I kind of owe you.
They're going to say
me your house.
Yeah,
right. He has to sign the house.
I don't normally work for that
cheaper
cheap.
Than he works. Yeah, right. I don't normally work that cheap. Yeah,
and but during the course of this trial, or the opening statements, basically,
yeah,
Frank loses his shit and punches Ed.
Yeah.
which basically
It causes a mistrial.
Well, yeah. Rita Schneider immediately calls for a mistrial, gets one, and Ed can't afford another trial.
Well, but here's the thing, though. It's like Frank ultimately is the one who sentences Ed to death.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because Shalhoub wants the mistrial, gets the mistrial by way of Ed being attacked, not a mistrial based on circumstance or any other thing. It's so, and then now Shalhoub is the man who wasn't there because there's no more money to pay him. He's off in the wind.
Yep.
And he's got a house now in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
But
and he's probably going to go to Da Vinci's when he's in town.
Right. And so so basically he's stuck with the public defender.
Yeah.
Who basically is like, we throw ourselves at the mercy of the court, which the mercy of the court ends up being, you are a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And therefore the only thing that we can do is sentence you to death. There was technically no fucking trial at that point.
No, because he pled guilty. Yeah.
He pled guilty. And it's like,
and it was all bullshit. And that's what you get with a public defender.
Right. But he pled guilty when normally when you plead guilty, you would plead to something better than the maximum fucking sentence.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Like you'd plead to some kind of like life imprisonment or something.
Well, at least that would be considered where it's like
there'd be a plea deal. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at least there would be some consideration where I don't have to now give this guy fucking death.
Right.
Yeah. And and that's when we find out that the story is being told in retrospect. He sold his story to
the judge wasn't hearing anything about the modern man.
No.
Oh yeah. No.
I'm not going to hear any shit about the modern man.
Yeah.
Funny.
And so basically Ed is going to be sent to the chair.
Yep.
And
Two things
movie ends with him dying.
two things I want to say here, because there's a beautiful line at the end again that I want to just read and not butcher it. I don't know where I'm being taken. I don't know what waits for me beyond the earth and sky. Maybe the things I don't understand will be clearer there. Like when a fog blows away, maybe Doris will be there. And maybe there I can tell her all the things they don't have words for here, which is beautiful. All the while that's happening, I don't know if you guys noticed it. When he's looking at the people that are watching him in horror about to be killed, he's looking mid-eye up.
Yeah.
At their hair. Their hair.
Yeah.
And he's presumably thinking my hair is going to keep growing after I die. And when is it going to stop? And so there is like he's still searching at the end, right?
Sure.
Obviously. Yeah. But I also think that lends a little credence to his side of the story, that he is a quiet person. He's never been able to tell it the way he wants to tell it. Yeah. Even if he's more even if he's more talkative than he's led us to believe, he doesn't have the words, right? He doesn't know how to say things the right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree with that. And I also would say that his relationship with Doris was very complicated. I mean, it like he talks about how they went on a date. He didn't have much to say, so she wanted to marry him, and they got married. And he's just kind of floating on the wind, like whatever comes his way, he just kind of gloms onto. The whole thing with the dry cleaning, he kind of gloms onto that because he's kind of rudderless. And so, but in the course of that, he probably loved Doris, and Doris probably loved her or loved him, but together they were just missing each other, and because they couldn't communicate.
Right. And I think that she liked to keep him that way. Right. And now he hopes the next life will give him the opportunity to communicate with her, one, in a way he never could, in a way she never let him when he tried to, because that's that whole scene when they're on the couch and she's like, don't even try it with me. I'm fine. Yeah. Well,
and on top of that, in a way that she can understand too, like go beyond like the words or the frustrations of just hearing people talk or trying to be something that you're just the honesty and, just letting it be almost, I don't know,
He just wants to communicate with her.
To communicate in a way that doesn't necessarily need the words or the words he never knew. And maybe that's not what she wants to do, but he would like it if that was. And that is those last lines. I was going to talk about those too, but yeah, I mean, that's, in the end, it's also really sad because it's like you kind of think what happened after she died is he felt like a ghost. Well, now he's probably not going to be missed by anybody. Maybe Birdie, who did mention that she did enjoy that he came over and listened to her play, and that she did kind of feel a connection with him.
The good news is that's not what he was thinking about when he died. He didn't. I don't think he cared about what his legacy was or anything like that.
Right. I mean, but yeah, he is just going to be plucked out of society, and it was going to be like he was never there.
Yep.
But maybe someplace else he will find what he was looking for.
I'll say this now. Like I told you guys, I wasn't ready for this. However, 22 years ago, whenever it came out, this is a beautiful movie. Like it made me feel a lot. It made me laugh a lot. It's moved up. I don't know if we need to talk about whether we're going to do that ranking after next week's of what we've covered so far. But man, this shot up that list.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting because we've got 10 that we've done previously, or
4, 8, 9. I think 10. It'll be 10.
Well, it'll be 10 before we're done. And so, I don't know. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough ranking.
Yeah. I'll have a real hard time with that.
Yeah, I mean, because there's going to be some things that we're going to rank a little lower that we don't mean to.
Nope.
That's what happens with good artists, right? It's like if I rank Kurt Vonnegut books, something's got to be 10, and I probably still fucking love it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah. And I will say, some of those lines, particularly the ones that hit the deepest from Ed. Like those last lines, the reminiscing about their first date, talking about time slowing down right before, an accident. That is exactly how The Postman Always Rings Twice read too. So if they were going for Kane, they got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they were. I mean,
absolutely they were. Yeah.
They're very homage driven directors, right? But there's always an interesting kind of slant to what they're doing. They definitely make their fingerprints are all over it.
Yeah.
I could tell this is a Coen Brothers movie, even though it's not traditional Coen Brothers, right?
Well, some of that, I mean, the dialogue still sounds like Coen Brothers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ed maybe is the one who sounds the least like a Coen Brothers, the character, but like Riedenschneider absolutely is a Coen Brothers character. Yeah. Frank is absolutely a Coen Brothers character. I mean, it's there. It's there, but I mean, like most of what Billy Bob Thornton is reading, particularly in the voiceover, that's the voice of that I remembered hearing, which is funny when you listen to something like a book on tape. It gives you a whole other read on some of that stuff too. And it sounded like when I listened to, Postman Always Rings Twice.
Nice.
That is a book I'd recommend to you guys. It's very good. So, and to any listeners who want to read it, go for it.
Yeah, listeners,
it's not a very long book. You'll be all right.
Jason, do you have any final thoughts on The Man Who Wasn't There?
No, I think we've covered it, gents. What do we got next week?
Next week is No Country for Old Men, the 5th and final installment.
That is skipping some.
Another 5-word title. Here we go.
Yes.
And then we're skipping two flicks with this one. We're skipping Intolerable Cruelty
and Lady Killers.
Lady Killers. Yeah.
Yeah. which I think is an okay skip. Like I like both of those movies, and maybe someday
we can go back and do them one-offs. Yeah.
I think we can throw them in here and there.
But this is a movie we have to hit.
I mean, this is the Oscar winner. This is the headliner. This is
when they finally reach the summit, if you will.
Yes.
And it's the perfect way to crescendo and end the month and our 2-volume Coen Brother feature months.
You know what's kind of great is that all 5 of these movies that we covered this month are very different.
Oh yeah.
I mean, talk about a great spread.
Right, but you can find a common theme in almost all of them too, which is interesting. But you're right, like they're very different in theme and style.
Yep.
Or presentation, I should say.
Yep.
I mean, we started this month with a movie I didn't care much for, and we are getting to the real good shit now. It's like this is a weird, for me, we're ending on a completely different side of the world compared to where we started.
Well, I mean, hell, the second movie
Fargo was
Fargo.
Good. I know, but like,
my goodness, I mean, that's like up in the upper echelon. Yeah, that's what you get. You get a lot of cream,
Yep. So next Wednesday, go to filmseizure.com. That's where you'll hear the episode. That's where you can find out where you can go and subscribe to us or follow us and all that good stuff. That will be Wednesday morning, August 30th. But also at filmseizure.com on Monday afternoon, August 28th, you can join us, or join me, I guess, for a new episode of Monster Mondays. I am talking about This Island Earth. Now, I talked about having a really cool-ass monster in The Mole People, but a not very good movie. This Island Earth has a super-duper monster, and it's a pretty good movie all around. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's a good bounce back to finish out a month of Universal horrors. So, that'll be Monday. Again, both of those shows, filmseizure.com. This Friday at my website, bmovieanima.com, I have a review of The Birds 2, Land's End.
Oh, no.
Yeah, talk about the turd. Anyway, so that's what's coming up. Fellas, I think one of us should say we got to go get a haircut.
It won't be me.
You're gonna be the Tolliver coming in with the
Which of you gentlemen gets the pleasure?
I fool even the professionals.
Anyway, the man who wasn't there, great stuff. We've still got more good stuff next week from the Coens, so join us for that. Until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And with the executive cut, I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.